Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Decision to Leave screenwriter Chung Seo-kyung, interpreter Ji-won Lee, and film critic Katie Walsh.
Hello. Thank you all so much for being here. I think this is my favorite movie of the year, so I'm so glad that you all watched it. And now we have the incredible pleasure of talking to the film's co-writer and longtime collaborator with director Park Chan-wook. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for being here to talk about this film with us. You started working with director Park in 2005 with Lady Vengeance. So I'm so curious how you two connected and started working together on that film. What was the story of you starting to work together?
단편 영화 공모전에서 제가 단편영화를 제출하고 감독님이 심사위원이셨기 때문에 그 영화를 뽑으셨어요.
There's a short film competition and he was a jury member there, so he selected the film and that's how we got to know each other.
제가 기억하기로 그 영화 시나리오는 굉장히 이상한 작품이었는데 아마도 그 점이 좋으셨던 것 같아요.
From what I remember, the script of that short film was very weird, and I think that's exactly what he liked about it.
That sounds right. So he said, I've got this idea, or I'm working on this Vengeance trilogy, and I want your sensibility on this. Or what was how did you start working on the film?
그 당시에 제가 일을 시작하고 나서 감독님이 곧바로 칸느 영화제에서 대상을 받으셨거든요. 그래서 그랑프리를 받으셨거든요. 그래서 갑자기 세계적인 감독님이 되신 거예요.
At that point, just when we were about to start working together, he had just won the Grandeur Prize at Cannes, and he became a worldwide director at the time.
그래서 내가 세계적인 감독과 일하게 되다니 놀라웠던 기억이 나고요. 감독님이 너무 바쁘셨기 때문에 시나리오를 혼자 써야 했어요.
And I thought to myself, wow, I'm going to be working with such a worldwide famous director. So I was very stunned by that. And he was busy at the time, so I had to start on the screenplay on my own at first.
감독님이 여기저기 다니시면서 홍보 활동을 하는 동안 겨우겨우 초고를 완성했는데 제가 기억하기로는 그 초고의 상태가 좀 한심했어요.
So he was on his promotional run for the film, and I was working on the first draft of the screenplay by myself. And from what I remember, it was a pathetic first draft.
하지만 감독님은 전혀 놀라지 않으셨고, 자 그럼 이걸 가지고 지금부터 고쳐보자 침착하게 말씀하셨던 기억이 나요.
But he was not taken back by the draft at all, and instead he calmly said, "Okay, let's start revising it together."
한국에서는 이제 호텔 방을 함께 머물면서 며칠 동안씩 시나리오 고치는 그런 작업 방식이 있거든요.
In Korea, there's a method of working in which we share one hotel room and we stay there and work together for days.
그래서 이제 저희 스태프들이 거실 한가운데에 커다란 테이블을 놓고 의자를 이렇게 마주보고 놓게 했어요.
So the crew members were sitting around this large table in this hotel room.
모니터 2개를 놓고 키보드 2개를 놓고 컴퓨터 하드는 1개만 사용했어요.
So there were 2 monitors, 2 keyboards, and 1 hard drive, and we were working together.
그렇게 하면 한 사람이 쓰게 되면 다른 사람이 동시에 그걸 볼 수 있죠.
So when one person is writing, the other person can see it on the screen.
그리고 테이블 옆에는 긴 소파가 있어서 거기에 이제 저희 스태프들이 앉아 있었어요.
And next to that table was a long couch where all the other crew members were sitting.
그래서 마치 저희가 시나리오 쓰는 것은 탁구를 치는 것과 비슷한 것처럼 보였을 거예요.
So it almost felt like writing that screenplay was a game of table tennis.
그래서 감독님이 쓰시고 제가 쓰고 감독님이 쓴 것이 마음에 안 들 땐 제가 지우고 감독님이 쓰다가 뭔가 부족한 것이 있으면 사이에 끼어들어 쓰기도 하고 그런 식으로 작업을 했습니다.
So when he writes and then I write, I would see something that I don't like and I would revise it. He would see something he doesn't like and he would revise it. So it would go back and forth like that.
그래서 저희는 말을 많이 한다기보다는 모니터 안에서 서로 쓰고 지우는 과정을 통해서 어떤 시나리오로 가려고 하는지를 서로 잘 느낄 수가 있었어요.
So instead of sharing conversations by mouth, we were seeing what was happening on the screen, and that's how we talked about the story.
하지만 제가 그 당시에는 시나리오를 처음 쓰는 신인 작가였기 때문에 감독님한테 밀리지 않기 위해서는 정말로 필사적으로 노력을 해야 했어요.
At that time, I was a first-time writer and I was working on my first screenplay, so I really had to give it all my best to catch up with him.
게다가 그건 상당히 불공평한 게임이었어요.
So it really was an unfair game, if I may say.
왜냐면 갤러리들이 대체로 이게 어떤 게 더 마음에 들어 하면 거의 대부분 감독님 편을 들었거든요.
So whenever you ask people there, like, which one do you like better, they would always be on the director's side.
하지만 20년이 지난 지금은 스태프들이 대부분 제 편을 듭니다.
But 20 years later today, the crew members actually take my side more now.
So you still work like this?
No,
Oh.
because 박쥐를 쓰고 나서 제가 첫 아이를 낳았어요.
After Thirst, I had my first child.
그리고 나서 스토커를 함께 고치는 과정에서 둘째 아이를 갖게 됐어요.
And while we were working on Stoker, I had my second child.
그래서 감독님 제가 시간을 많이 낼 수 없었기 때문에 감독님과 그렇게 오랜 시간 동안 그렇게 작업은 많이 하지 못하고요.
That's why I couldn't make a lot of time, and that's why we can't spend that much time together anymore.
지금은 서로 상의를 해서 제가 초고를 완성을 하고 그리고 난 다음에 같이 고치는 과정에서 뭐 3, 4일에서 일주일 정도 그런 식으로 작업을 합니다.
So now I write the first draft of the screenplay, and we revise it for 3 or 4 days or up to a week now.
그리고 마지막에 이제 감독님 배우들과 스태프들과 또 저와 얘기를 하면서 마지막 고를 감독님이 쓰세요.
And then he writes the final draft after a discussion with the crew members and the actors and myself.
Wow, that's remarkable. I was going to ask how you guys work together, what your working process was like. So I'm thrilled that it just came up naturally. And that is such a trial by fire. I mean, I'm sure that was like film school, being in that hotel room, having to write against Park Chan-wook in a competitive manner.
제가 학교에서 시나리오를 졸업한 학생이었는데 막상 학교 밖으로 나와 보니까 제가 아는 게 하나도 없더라고요.
I actually majored in screenwriting at school, but after graduation, I realized I actually don't know anything about screenwriting.
이게 그냥 말한 게 아니라 진짜예요.
Like really, like genuinely.
그래서 저는 지금까지도 늘 박찬욱 학교에서 시나리오를 배웠고
So
지금도
even
그렇다고 생각합니다.
So even now, I'm still learning screenwriting from Director Park Film School, and I'm still learning today.
감독님도 비슷한 기분일 거라 믿고 있어요.
And I'm sure Director Park feels the same way.
Yeah. So for Decision to Leave, this is an original script. You've worked on some adaptations before, but what was the spark of idea for this screenplay, for this story?
감독님께서 영국에서 리틀 드러머 걸이라는 드라마를 하실 때 메일을 보내셨어요.
Director Park, while he was working on Little Drummer Girl in London, he sent me an email.
한 형사의 그 관할 구역에서 2명의 남편을 죽이는 여자 이야기가 어떨까?
And he suggested, what about a story about a detective, and in his area there are 2 husbands who are murdered by his wife.
감독님의 그때 아이디어는 제가 보기엔 상당히 박쥐랑 닮아 보였어요.
His idea at the time actually reminded me a lot of Thirst.
그러니까 치정살인 이런 느낌? 치정살인? 불륜과 살인?
Oh, like a murder caused by adultery.
그래서 제가 이건 좀 힘들 것 같다고 말씀드렸어요.
So I told him, I don't think we can work on this one.
첫째로 우리는 둘 다 멜로드라마를 못 쓰고
First of all, neither of us can write a melodrama.
멜로드라마도 못 쓰는 데다가 불륜 문제는 난 더 못 쓸 것 같다.
And I can't write a melodrama, but even more, I really can't write a story about adultery.
근데 감독님께서 무슨 말이야? 나는 잘 쓰는데 이러시더라고요.
But Director Park answered, what do you mean? I'm great at writing those stuff.
그래서 아니 무슨 말씀이세요? 감독님 지금 쓰신 거 보면 이렇게 하면 안 되잖아요. 그런 식으로 서로 아규먼트를 하게 됐어요.
And then I told him, no, well, let's look at the things you wrote, and I don't think we can work like this. So we had an argument about that, actually.
그렇게 얘기를 하다 보니까 제가 어느새 캐릭터를 발전시키고 있더라고요.
But during that argument, I realized I was already developing the characters for this story.
어느새 시놉시스가 완성되어 있는 걸 발견하게 됐어요.
And I found myself with a finished synopsis for the film.
그래서 그렇게 쓰게 됐습니다.
That's how the film came to be.
It sounds like there's some creative energy sort of in the conflict or in the argument. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that, of how you're sort of working against each other and then it's generating ideas for you?
일단 이 영화에서는 대부분의 영화에서도 그렇지만 저는 주로 여자 주인공한테 감정이입을 많이 하고 감독님은 남자 주인공 입장에서 많이 생각하세요.
For this film and for most of the films that we work together on, I relate a lot with the female characters, and director Park tends to relate with the male characters.
제가 멜로드라마를 쓰고 싶지 않았던 이유 중에 하나는 그 전작 박쥐에서 제가 되게 원통한 기억이 있었거든요.
And the reason I didn't want to work on a melodrama is because I have a terrible memory from Thirst.
박쥐의 결말이 저는 마음에 들지 않았어요.
I did not like the ending of Thirst.
왜 여자 주인공은 원치 않는데 죽어야 했을까?
Why did the female character have to die when she did not want to?
그냥 뱀파이어로 살아도 좋았을 텐데.
It would have been nice if she lived on as a vampire.
그래서 저는 아마 영화가 끝나고 나자 태주랑 좀 비슷한 기분이었어요.
So when the film was over, I think I felt just like Taeju.
태주는 그러거든. 죽기는 싫지만 살아가니까 할 수 없지. 그런 식으로 죽거든요.
Taeju, he's like she's like I don't want to die, but since I love him, I guess there's no other choice.
그래서 저도 이렇게 쓰긴 싫지만 할 수 없지. 이렇게 생각했었던 것 같아요.
So I thought to myself, well, I don't want it to be that way, but I guess I have no other choice.
그래서 헤어질 결심의 결말에서도 결말이 좋긴 한데 꼭 여자 주인공 죽어야 될까? 그런 생각이 좀 들었었어요.
So similarly for Decision to Leave, I liked the ending, but I did have to ask the question, did the female character have to die?
그런 식의 불만이 되게 많았어요. 왜 여자 주인공이 설애가 혜준을 더 많이 사랑하는 것 같을까?
So I had a lot of frustrations regarding that. Why does Seo-rae seem to like Hae-joon more than he likes her?
왜 혜준은 부인과 설애를 둘 다 안 포기하는 것처럼 보일까?
Why does Hae-joon seem like he can't give up on his wife or Seo-rae?
그리고 설애가 준 것은 자기의 삶 그 자체인데 혜준은 고작 자부심만 포기한다고?
And Seo-rae had to give up her whole life for Hae-joon, but Hae-joon only gave up on his self-esteem.
하지만 완성된 영화를 보고 나니까 어떤 사람한테는 자부심을 포기하는 게 목숨을 포기하는 것보다 더 힘들 수도 있다는 생각이 들더라고요.
But watching the finished film, I was struck with the realization that for some people, giving up on one's self-esteem is the same as giving up one's life.
쓰는 과정에서는 많은 컨플릭트가 있었지만 영화를 만들고 나서는 그 과정을 포함해서 모든 것에 만족하게 됐어요.
There was some conflict while we were writing the film, but watching that finished film, I think I understood and connected with the overall ending.
I'm also curious about the casting of Tang Wei, who's a Chinese actress, obviously living in Korea. And did you write the character of Seo-rae for Tang Wei, or did you change that character to be Chinese once you knew she was going to be in the film?
제가 감독님께 멜로드라마는 자신이 없어서 쓰고 싶지 않다고 말씀드리면서 단 한 가지 예외가 있다면 여자 주인공이 탕웨이라면 쓸 수 있다고 말씀드렸어요.
I told director Park I don't want to write a melodrama because I'm not confident I'll do a good job on it. One exception being that if the female character is played by Tang Wei.
왜냐하면 제가 탕웨이를 사랑하고 있었으니까요.
Because I was in love with Tang Wei.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer. Makes sense. I understand.
그래서 여자 주인공이 중국인이 된 거죠.
And that's why the female character turned out to be a Chinese person.
Well, she's fabulous in the film, so we thank you for your instincts for being in love with her. I one of the things I love about this film is the use of technology. It feels so honest to how we use technology in our everyday lives, how we're always got our steps going and our texting, and the way the characters communicate through technology, but also it becomes part of the mystery and how he solves the mystery, and then also how he's sort of driven mad at the end. So when you're writing with director Park, like how are you incorporating how the characters are using technology into the writing process? You know, he makes it so cinematic, but I know that you must be using, putting that into the script as well.
예를 들어 범죄 소설의 유명한 작가들 예를 들어 아가사 크리스티나 그런 분들이 범죄 소설을 쓸 때 마음과 현대의 테크놀로지가 발달한 시대에 스마트폰 누구나 가지고 있고 찍을 수 있고 녹음할 수 있는 시대에 범죄 소설을 쓰는 작가의 마음을 비교해봐 주시기 바랍니다.
I hope you can take the time to consider authors like Agatha Christie when she was writing her crime novel compared to those who are writing a crime novel today, where we have so much technology and phones always filming and recording evidences.
저희는 할 수 있는 게 많지 않아요.
There's not a lot that we can work with.
누구나 사진을 찍을 수 있고 녹음도 할 수 있고 어디나 CCTV가 있거든요.
Because anyone can take photos and have voice recordings, and there's always CCTV cameras everywhere.
그래서 로맨틱한 고전적인 트릭은 사실 범죄 소설에 불가능하고 기왕 이렇게 된 김에 그냥 테크놀로지를 적극적으로 받아들이자고 생각했어요.
So I realized it's impossible to have that romanticist classical crime story, and we instead had to actively incorporate the use of modern technology.
감독님이 처음에 시나리오를 받아보시고 왜 이렇게 핸드폰이 많이 나와? 라고 하셨어요.
When Director Park first received the draft of the script, he asked me, why are there so many scenes with cell phones?
이제까지 본 영화 중에 제일 많은 것 같다. 그 서칭 빼고.
This is the most amount of cell phones I can ever see in a movie other than in searching.
그래서 감독님은 처음에 핸드폰이 나오는 화면이나 이런 것을 찍고 싶어 하지 않으셨어요.
Director Park initially did not want to film any scenes with cell phones.
하지만 나중에는 모든 걸 포기하고 핸드폰의 관점에서 사람을 찍기 시작하시더라고요.
But later he gave up on giving up on those cell phone scenes and instead filmed from the point of view of a cell phone.
그거는 굉장히 독창적인 관점인데 아주 쉽게 사람들에게 받아들여지는 것 같았습니다. 왜냐하면 핸드폰이 우리를 본다고 느낄 때가 많이 있으니까요.
That is actually a very innovative, creative take on that, but I do feel that people took that in very well because we often feel that phones are looking at us.
그리고 또 작가인 저에게는 이 애플워치를 사용하는 게 상당히 많은 자유를 줬어요.
As for me as a writer, the use of Apple Watches actually gave me a lot of creative freedom.
왜냐하면 갑자기 주인공이 나레이션을 하면서 등장하기는 쉽지 않은데 이 핸드폰에 대해서 속마음을 말할 수가 있잖아요.
Because it's difficult to have scenes to incorporate where the protagonist is just merely saying a voiceover out of nowhere. But with the Apple Watch and the recording, it made that so much easier.
Yeah, it's beautifully done and written. I know you guys probably have some questions, but I have one more. But you know, you have worked across so many genres with director Park: vampire, vengeance, melodrama. The Handmaiden is a historical drama, romance. It's an adaptation. Do you think there's like a consistent theme or tone or something that you and director Park always come back to, you know, that is across your body of work?
사실 박찬욱 감독님과 저는 주제의식에서 잘 맞지 않는 편이었어요.
The thing is, Director Park and I actually don't agree on the themes a lot most of the time.
예를 들어 친절한 금자씨를 할 때 주인공이 복수를 하려고 하잖아요. 주제가 복수였다면 저는 사람들이 왜 서로 복수를 하는지 잘 이해를 못하는 편이에요.
For instance, for Lady Vengeance, the theme was vengeance, right? But I don't quite understand why people are so obsessed with vengeance, actually.
친구한테 전화를 해서 왜 사람들이 복수를 할까? 평화를 추구하지 않고 이렇게 물어본 적도 있어요.
So I actually called my friend and asked, why do people have revenge on each other instead of striving for peace?
그리고 박쥐를 쓸 때는 그 주제의식이 죄책감 혹은 구원에 관한 것이었거든요.
And as for thirst, the theme was guilt or salvation.
저는 근데 사실 죄책감도 별로 없는 편이에요.
But the thing is, I don't feel a lot of guilt in my life.
나쁜 짓은 안 하면 된다고 생각하니까요.
As long as I don't do anything bad, that's what I think.
만약에 제가 뱀파이어가 됐다면 인간이 이렇게 진화하는구나. 뱀파이어 삶의 방식을 찾아야겠다. 그렇게 생각했을 것 같아요.
If I were a vampire, I would think to myself, oh, this is how the mankind is going to evolve, so I should find a new method of life.
그런 식으로 저희가 주제가 잘 맞진 않았는데 영화를 하나씩 써가면서 공통된 주제를 추구하고 있다는 걸 발견하게 됐어요.
So in those ways, I don't think the themes quite worked with me, but as we were working together, I did realize we were working toward one common theme.
그거는 아마도 인간의 존엄성 혹은 인간의 품위에 관한 것인데요.
And I think it has to do with respect or dignity of mankind.
그 여러 가지 장르의 영화들에서 주인공은 대체로 극한의 상황에 처하게 됩니다.
In all of these different genres, the protagonists tend to be thrown into very extreme situations.
그런 상황에서도 어떤 상황에서도 품위를 잃지 않으려고 노력하는 주인공들이 등장하거든요.
And yet, even in these extreme situations, these protagonists try not to lose their sense of dignity.
어쩌면 설애가 꼿꼿하다고 말한 혜준의 말이 그런 서로의 어떤 디그니티를 추구하는 태도를 보여주는 것 같아요.
And I think when Hae-joon was talking about how Seo-rae has her upright posture, I think it really spoke to her sense of dignity.
그런 부분들은 사이보그지만 괜찮아나 다른 핸드메이든을 통해서도 계속해서 관통하는 주제인 것 같아요.
And that is a common theme throughout films like I'm a Cyborg, but That's Okay, or The Handmaiden.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sure you have some questions, and there are ushers with microphones, so just they will find you. Anybody have a question?
I love the sense of dignity. A fabulous film, thank you. The use of music, the theme song, and Mahler's Fifth, Until the End. Can you talk about the music more?
제가 시나리오를 쓸 때 처음 그 음악을 생각했거든요.
When we were writing the script, that was actually the first score that we thought of.
전에 그 높이 있는 혼자 있는 사람의 희박한 공기 속에 있는 음악이 필요했어요.
I needed a song that goes with someone in that lone space high up on the mountain.
세상과 떨어져 있다고 믿는 사람의 음악이요.
A music that speaks to how he feels separated from the rest of the world.
그래서 그 말러의 음악을 선택했는데 초고를 감독님한테 보내고 나서 감독님이 전화를 하셨어요.
So that's why I chose the songs by Mahler. And when director Park saw the first draft, he called me up.
다 좋은데 왜 말러 음악이야? 그러셨어요.
And he asked me, "Oh, it's all good, but why did you have to use Mahler?"
베니스의 죽음도 안 봤어?
Did you not watch Death in Venice?
거기서 이미 완벽하게 쓰였는데 이걸 어떻게 다시 쓴다는 거야?
That song was perfectly used there already, so why would we have to use it again?
하지만 저는 베니스의 죽음을 보지 않았습니다.
But I did not watch Death in Venice.
그래서 감독님이 그럼 알았어. 그럼 어떻게든 내가 해볼게라고 하셨어요.
So he said, "Okay, I'll try to work it out on my own then."
감독님이 다른 음악을 찾으려고 최선을 다하셨다는 걸 알고 있어요.
And I think he did try his best to find something else.
하지만 할 수 없이 다시 말로로 되돌아오셨습니다.
But he had to return to Mahler.
Have you seen Tar? They do. They
No.
Oh,
No,
they
not
put.
yet.
She conducts the fifth, Mahler's Fifth in Tar. Yeah. So it's a theme this year. Another question. We have one down here. Where are the ushers? Oh, you have it. Okay, great.
Thank you. That was a beautiful work. I was wondering, did you ever came up with the alternative finale, or like did you suggest an alternative finale?
사실 이 결말은 굉장히 논리적인 결말이에요.
The ending is actually something that makes logical sense.
이것은 아주 높은 곳에서 시작해서 아래로 내려가는 이야기거든요.
Because this is a story that begins very high up and then we end very low.
마운틴에서 시작해서 바다에서 끝나요.
We start on the mountain and close on the ocean.
그래서 결과적으로는 땅을 파고 들어가는 게 논리적인 귀결이에요.
So conclusively, it makes logical sense that it would end up with someone digging a hole.
꼭 저는 사실 어떤 사랑에서 여자가 죽는 결말이 좀 부자연스럽다고 생각하는데요. 사랑을 위해 여자가 죽는 결말이.
I actually tend to think that an ending in which a woman dies for love is quite unnatural.
남자가 죽는 건 좀 더 자연스럽다고 믿고 있어요.
But if a man dies, that's a little more natural.
하지만 그런 불만이 있었음에도 불구하고 이 결말 말고 다른 결말을 생각할 수가 없었어요.
But despite those personal frustrations, I could not think of any other ending that would work better.
Another question in the audience. Oh, okay.
안녕하세요. 질문 하나 있어요. 박찬욱 감독은 여자들 얘기를 많이 쓰는 것 같아요. 그 I'm a cyborg, it's okay, handmaiden 이 영화도 다 여자 얘기예요. 그러면 남자랑 같이 여자 얘기 쓰는 거가 뭐가 제일 힘들어요?
So Director Park, the question was, Director Park seems to write a lot of stories featuring female protagonists. So what are the difficulties you face when you're writing about a female protagonist while you're working with a male director?
사실은 it is very easy. with 디렉터 박찬욱. 사실은 저는 남자들만 나온 이야기를 써본 적이 있어요.
I've actually written a story in which it only features male protagonists.
독전이라는 영화 아시나요? Believer?
It's called Believer.
거기에서 남자들이 잔뜩 나오는데 저는 정말 너무 힘들어 죽는 줄 알았어요.
It's that story is filled with male characters, and I had such a hard time. I thought I was gonna die.
제 생각엔 여자 작가가 남자 캐릭터를 쓰고 남자 작가가 여자 캐릭터를 그럴듯하게 잘 쓰는 것은 시나리오 쓰는 일 중에 제일 힘든 것 중에 하나인 것 같아요.
I think one of the most difficult parts of being a writer is if a female writer is trying to write a good male character and when a male writer is trying to write a good female character.
그런데도 박찬욱 감독님은 본인이 남자인데도 불구하고 여자 인물을 주인공으로 받아들이고 또 그 여자 인물이 자기의 무엇 여성성이랑 다른 것들을 희생하지 않고 자기의 길을 걷는 것을 너무 잘 수용하세요.
But despite all those difficulties, Director Park actually takes the female characters very well, and he writes characters in a way where they don't have to sacrifice their femininity in order to walk their path of life.
저희가 같이 일한 20년 동안 감독님은 점점 진화하셔서 나중에는 어떤 대사가 감독님이 쓴 것이고 어떤 대사가 제가 쓴 것인지 사람들이 구별하기 힘들게 됐어요.
Over 20 years of working together, our collaboration has evolved so much that it's actually difficult to tell which line is written by me and which line is written by Director Park.
핸드메이든에서 가장 여성적인 대사 중에 하나를 박 감독님이 쓰신 게 있어요.
In the movie The Handmaiden, one of the most feminine-looking lines is actually written by Director Park.
그 대사를 말해도 될지 안 될지 잘 모르겠네요.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that line out loud.
뭐냐면 그 수키가 만약에 저한테도 젖이 나와서 너를 먹일 수 있다면 얼마나 좋을까라고 하는 부분이 있거든요. 아가씨를 먹일 수 있다면 얼마나 좋을까.
It's a line by the character Suki, and she says, "If I could have milk from my breast, I wish I could feed you, my lady."
상상이 되시나요?
Can you imagine that?
Well, his female characters are so strong. I'm sure that that is your influence, of course, in your writing, but also I'm sure in just the working relationship that he has with you.
저도 남성 캐릭터에서 그만큼 발전을 했으면 좋겠는데 감독님보다는 제가 그런 점에서 뒤처지는 것 같습니다.
I wish I could have also developed in the sense of writing better male characters, but I think I'm a little behind if we have to make a comparison.
That's okay. Keep writing women. We like it. I think we can do one more question from the audience. Who has one? There's one over there. Do you have them?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay, sorry. I'm confused about the mic thing.
안녕하세요. Thank you so much. This is super awesome. I just wanted to ask about Seo-rae's mother-daughter relationship because I felt like that was such a pivotal moment in the story, and I would love to hear more about what role that played for you.
사실은 설애와 엄마의 관계는 조금 더 원래는 길게 묘사가 됐었어요.
The relationship between Seo-rae and her mother was actually described in more lengthy terms.
저는 사실 이 모든 이야기의 시작은 설애가 엄마를 죽이면서부터 시작됐다고 생각해요.
Because I think the entire story started the moment Seo-rae killed her mother.
설애가 너무나 사랑하는 엄마를 그 엄마가 겪는 고통 때문에 자기 손으로 죽이는 것보다 더 심각한 일은 이 영화에서는 일어나지 않아요. 설애가 너무 사랑하는 엄마를 자기 손으로 죽이는 것보다 더 심각한 일은 이 영화에서 일어나지 않아요.
The thing is, there's nothing more serious. She doesn't commit a more serious crime than killing the mother that she loves so much.
그래서 저는 설애가 그 순간에 어떤 의미에서는 이미 죽었다고 생각해요.
So I think in some ways, Seo-rae has already died the moment she had to go through that.
그리고 설애는 엄마가 생각하는 설애의 산으로 되돌려주기 위해 엄마와 외할아버지를 안고 산에서부터 아래로 내려왔다고 생각합니다.
So I think she's taken a journey in which she goes to the mountain that her mother said belongs to her with her mother and her grandfather and started her journey down.
설애가 엄마와 할아버지를 산으로 보내준 다음에는 설애도 자연스럽게 자신의 죽음을 찾아 바다로 가고 있었다고 생각해요.
So after she has placed her mother and her grandfather at that mountain, she has started her own journey towards death down from the mountain.
저는 인간을 포함한 모든 동물은 자기가 나온 곳에서 죽으려고 돌아간다고 생각하거든요.
Because I think every animal, including mankind, wants to find death where they were born.
그래서 설애의 엄마가 산에 묻히기를 원했다고 설애는 생각할 거고요. 저는 설애가 바다에 속하는 사람이기 때문에 바다로 가서 죽으러 가는 길이었다고 생각해요.
So that is why Seorae's mother, Seorae believed that her mother wanted to be buried in the mountains, and Seorae was going towards the ocean because she belongs to the ocean.
유일한 구원의 가능성은 해준을 만나서 어딘가 딴 곳으로 가는 것이었겠지만 그런 일은 결국 일어나지 않았기 때문에 설애는 그렇게 바다로 되돌아갔다고 생각합니다.
I think the only way to find salvation out of that was to go somewhere else with Hae-joon, but that didn't happen. So inevitably, she had to go to the ocean.
그 모든 것이 시작된 게 설애 엄마의 죽음인 것 같아요.
And all of that began with the death of Seorae's mother.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ji-won. Thank you, Chung Seo-kyung.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for watching this film and your wonderful questions and talking to us about it.